Hello. Today we are talking about how systems can reduce your workload and create more freedom in your life. Hi, I'm Melody. I'm your host. This is Author Nation Interviews. And if you have a book in you, let us help you create a roadmap to success. Once you have your roadmap in place, join our community so you get the structure, the accountability, the resources, the knowledge, the inspiration to actually finish and publish your book. So grab our planning checklist. It is at authornation.online. It is scrolling past you right now, and it's in the description. All right, our guest, Sherri Coffelt, supports service-based entrepreneurs to end the feast and famine cycle of getting clients and finally build a business that allows them to live their bucket life now. She believes it is possible to work when you want, where you want, and with clients you love. In fact, she's living proof, having sold her home and packed up her possessions to travel the world, taking her business with her. And she's never looked back. Leveraging her Freedom Finder formula, her clients build a business around the lifestyle they want and an income it will take to achieve it. Please welcome Sherri Coffelt. Hi, Sherri. How are you?
I am doing great. I'm so excited to be here, Melody.
Yeah, I'm excited too. And in fact, we have something in common. I was reading your story, and it mentions that you grew up on a farm.
I did. In fact, I'm there right now.
Oh, wow, you're there right now. That's so exciting. So did I. And so I have a question about work ethic. So
Yes.
did your farm life experience embed a work ethic into you that you bring into your life today?
It did, and it's changed because growing up on a farm, it's up at daylight, work till dark. It's very much a work hard to get ahead lifestyle. And well, I did that for years. I was the perfectionist. I was the corporate ladder, did that in my business for many years. I learned that it's not exactly all it's cracked up to be. And the reality is there's a lot of ways for us to grow our business. And one of them is systems we're going to talk about today that allow us to be more efficient, more effective, and be able to have a life. And the 60-hour work weeks just don't really allow you any time for that.
Yes, yes. Well, and actually, interestingly enough, my father was a teacher. So he taught school, and we lived on a beef cattle farm and had some chickens as well.
Yeah.
So, talk about, he used to get up in the morning, work, go to school, get back, work, right? And I was in charge of, collecting chicken eggs, and my brother was in charge of, but now you travel. So, but, besides the farm, what is one of your favorite travel destinations for working? Just think about like where, tell me if I should go somewhere and set up my business, where is that?
Anywhere is my first answer. But I will tell you the country that I visited that I actually loved the most that I didn't really expect to. And that is Croatia.
Oh.
I fell in love with it. Now, I have to tell you, part of it was that I chose a little apartment, literally steps from the beach. I had a little deck on the front of this apartment that I ran the electric cord out through the window of the apartment. And I worked every day I was there that I worked. I had my laptop on the little chair and table on the deck with a view of the ocean. It's like, now that's life, right?
That is amazing. That's just amazing.
So that was just the work part, but also just the Croatia is amazing. It's beautiful. You've got the beach, you've got the waterfalls and the national parks in the middle of the country. The people are amazing. So it was a country that I didn't have a lot of expectations for, and it ended up being, I would say, my top destination so far.
That's amazing. Okay, I was going to ask another question around it, but I want to say hi to Lizette Wenzer. She's saying, good afternoon. Good afternoon, Lizette. Thank you for joining us today. I love seeing you here. Okay, so my next question is, and this is after saying, oh, I wired, my laptop outside and I worked watching the beach. What's been the biggest struggle around, work in the travel lifestyle?
I wouldn't necessarily say it's a struggle, but I think that the biggest challenge that I've had to overcome is setting up my work schedule when I get to a new country so that I can serve my clients and have the time that I want to have to spend in that country and always be present doing what I'm doing.
Nice.
So, as an example, Australia is amazing because in Australia, about 80% of my clients are still US based. So, in Australia, I could work from, I'd usually work early, like 6 or 7 in the morning till 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And my US clients were going to bed, or at least they were having dinner, it was at nighttime. So it was perfect because I could work an early day. And then 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I could go enjoy Australia wherever I was. And it was perfect. Europe, on the other hand, is a bit of a challenge. I'm leaving actually in March for Paris. I'm speaking at a conference in Paris in March, which I'm really excited about. And it's a little tougher because I really can't start my day in Europe until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So that, I would say, is the biggest challenge, is you just have to get used to being able to shift your schedule and and set up the structure to have your work day and your playtime, if you will.
Yes, exactly. And it's interesting because I was thinking about that. If I traveled, I do something with my community, for example, every Monday at 10 a.m. my time,
Yeah.
right? And so I would have to shift that to whatever time it is wherever I am in the world if I'm traveling, right? So that's one of the things I was doing. I was right. That is one of the big struggles. So
It
you're leaving.
depends, though. When
Yeah.
I was in Europe, I was running a group program. No, it was when I was in Australia, and I had already scheduled a early morning call. I did 3:30 in the morning calls twice a month from Australia.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
it depends. You just kind of have to pick and choose.
Yeah. But it's worth it if you're traveling and seeing all these different countries and living and experiencing culture, because I've lived in a variety of countries, and I can tell you, living in a country is a completely different experience than just going to a country for a
Yes.
week and sitting on their beaches or going to their
Mhm.
museums, shopping there, meeting the people,
Mhm.
making friends. This is a completely different experience. So I just
It is.
worth
And that's why I typically spend a month in every location I go to. So if
yeah.
I'm going to Amsterdam and Paris are the two stops I'm making this trip to Europe. And I'm
Yeah.
spending about 6 weeks actually in Paris and 4 weeks in Amsterdam. And that's
Nice.
because you're there long enough that I want to live like a local.
Yeah.
And that's part of what I want, is what you said, the culture. And so I love it. I wouldn't go back for any amount of anything.
Oh, I love this. Okay, you've convinced me. What is the one piece of advice I need to get started, Sherri?
Uh, you know, um, this is I think it's advice that we know but we don't take. And that would be, get crystal clear on your vision for the lifestyle you want to live, whatever that is, and every area of your life. Because once you're clear on what I really want to do is travel full time, if that's it for you, and it may or may not be, it is for me,
Yeah.
then you can design your business to fit into that lifestyle. Because what happens is, if you're not clear on your business, you can unconsciously work yourself into a place where you can't do what you want to do because you've unconsciously built a business that doesn't allow it. And I'll
Right.
be honest and raise my hand. And even though I teach this, I did that. That was actually, I call it my knock upside the head moment, that led me to do what I'm doing right now. Is I had
Okay.
built a very successful business built mostly on live speaking and live networking. I was in
Yes.
California, loved it, but I was doing live speaking and networking to meet people and get clients. And if I went to Europe for even 2 months, my client leads dried up. So
Yes.
that was my knock upside the head moment when I was working on my vision, because I was working
Right.
on next year. So that's what led me to pack up my possessions and sell my house. And
Yeah.
within 6 months, I was off for 4 months in Australia.
Yeah. Yeah. So be really clear on what you want and build a business that fits into that. All right,
Exactly.
let's talk about how to do that, because that's what we're talking about,
Yeah.
systems today, so that you can create more freedom in your life.
Mhm.
So let's move on to that and talk about that. Oh, I love it, Lizette. So great. Lizette is saying, I need this session desperately. Lizette, I hear you. Me too. This is actually a dream of mine. So, a little bit of selfishness bringing Sherri on today for me too. So I'm glad Lizette and I are both on it.
Well, I
All
can't
right.
tell you, Melody, how many podcasts I've done that there's a topic, like we have a topic today. We end up taking all the time talking about traveling and where I am. It happens. So we'll get into
Yeah.
systems now.
Oh, that's great. Okay. So to get that travel lifestyle, what would you say, the top 5 systems that we need to put into place?
Absolutely. So I know we'll talk a little bit about the systems, but what I want to give you as a framework is,
Mhm.
why do you need systems? Systems are meant to help us be more efficient. They save us time, they save us money. Maybe we are paying for them, but they still save us money in the long run. And they allow us to spend more time doing what we really love doing, which is writing books, talking about your book, doing programs, whatever it is your business is.
Yeah.
So when I talk about systems, the systems I'm going to talk about in terms of the top 5, and I'm actually going to give you a bonus one, are the ones that are most important for most, I think, of your audience who may be an author, and you also have programs on the back end. So you're wanting to build a community around whatever your book topic is and whatever it is you're selling to them, if you're selling coaching or consulting or a product or whatever it might be. So most of the time you're going to be doing that model, that high ticket sale model in at least, is some kind of a consult kind of session. You're wanting people to get on the phone with you. Would you say that's fair, Melody, for most of your clients?
Yeah, well, so I actually have 2 different styles of, at
Okay.
least 2 different. I have what I call the entrepreneur who want to have 5, 6, 7 books and they're selling books.
Yep.
And then I have people who have the coaching or the back end,
Mhm.
consulting, that kind of, could be community, could be
Okay.
coaching, could be
Yep.
courses, but something. But yeah,
Yep.
I have, I'd say my 2 biggest audiences are
Mhm.
what
Okay.
I call the entrepreneur and
Yeah.
the business book person, right?
Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah.
So for either of those, they're going to want to build a community, whether it's to get people to read your next book or to be able to market to them by getting a chapter out to them so they get interested in the next book. You're going to want to have a community to be able to do that to send that information to, or
Yeah.
to ask them to get on a call with you. So in
Yes.
order to do that, the 5 systems that you really need to have in place to make it efficient and effective so you can focus on what you want to be doing are: number one is a scheduling tool. You need to be able to have people schedule appointments with you without you having to do that emailing back and forth or talking back and forth. That is so time draining and frustrating, right?
Yeah.
So that's the first one. Do you want to talk about each of them individually, or do you want me to go through
Yeah,
them
let's jump
first?
into scheduling, because I'm just, so for me, when I put in a scheduling system, my life changed dramatically. And I'm just going to talk to the entrepreneurs out there just for a minute. They're like, but I don't take clients, right? Pardon me. I don't take clients. I have 5 books. I'm selling books.
Right.
So here's an idea. Although you're selling books, you might want to partner with podcasters. So you have a slot for podcasters, and you may want to open it up to book clubs. So you may have a book club page on your website with a scheduler for, like, book me for a speaking gig to come to your book club if you buy 10 or more books. Right. And so I'm just going to throw that out there just in case I have people going, well, I wouldn't need a scheduler because I don't make appointments, right? There are actually good reasons to make appointments. Okay, tell us about scheduling.
Absolutely. Totally,
Sherri.
totally agree. So a scheduler allows you to give somebody a link. Like I bought the
Mhm.
URL connectwithsherri.com. So if
Yeah.
I want to schedule somebody to get on my calendar, I can just say, go to connectwithsherri.com, grab a spot on my calendar that works for you. They go, they match with their calendar, and it's done, right? Because I live by my calendar.
Yeah.
So the thing with the scheduling tool is it saves you that back and forth emailing. If you've ever been on an email string or a Facebook or a messenger string where you're saying, oh, does Tuesday at 2 work for you? No, I can't do that. How about Wednesday at 4? It's a
Yeah.
pain in the butt. So
Yes.
the scheduling tool, there's 3 things that I do want to tell you need to watch out for with the scheduling tool. Number one is that it has to be what's called two-way sync. And what that means is that you have to be able to tell it, I'm available from 12 to 4 on Tuesdays. But then it also needs to not only be able to book people from 12 to 4, but it needs to go into your calendar if you're using Google Calendar or an Outlook calendar, whatever, and check that you don't have a dentist appointment next Tuesday at 3 o'clock. So you can't do 3 to 4. So
Right.
it's going both ways. It's giving it's checking the calendar you gave it, but it's also checking you don't have to a personal commitment on your calendar. That's
Yes.
really important. The second thing is you want it to be able to make multiple appointment types, because the reason for that is that from a branding perspective, like your book club idea, if you had a different book club for each one of your books, you want to name a session if they were going to schedule an appointment for something around that. So you might have book club A, book club B. Of course, it'd be more branded than that. And
Yes.
you want to be able to set up those multiple appointment types so you really can get the most branding for yourself and for your company. And then
Yeah.
the third thing is that it has to send reminder emails, because your no-show rates will go down dramatically
Yeah.
if you have a confirmation email and at least 2 reminder emails.
Yeah. Yeah.
So those are the three tips I'd give you on a scheduling tool.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. And then Lizette was asking, does scheduling system mean using something like Calendly or Doodle? Yes.
Yes, Calendly, yes. Doodle, no. Doodle, I'm
Okay.
familiar with. Doodle is great if you have a large group and you're trying to find one time or the best time that gets the most people to be able to be there. But
Okay.
it doesn't, at least to my knowledge, it doesn't actually allow you to schedule the appointment. You'd have to go
Okay.
then and go into Google Calendar or Outlook or something and actually invite people to that time that works best for the most. But
Okay.
Calendly is one of the top ones. It's one of the ones that I recommend. I personally use Acuity Scheduling, which was bought by Squarespace. I can't remember, within the last year was bought by Squarespace. So it's now Squarespace scheduling. It does all of those things. Calendly does all the things that I'm talking about. There are a ton of them out there. Book Like a Boss is becoming really popular. I've not used that personally, but it's becoming really popular. And Schedule Once is another one that I can recommend. Most of these are
Okay.
going to run you $8 to $20 a month. It's not a big investment, but it's a huge time saver.
Yeah. And actually that's quite a spread, $8 to $20 a month. And so when you're pricing these out, are you looking at those three things, right? Like do you want to make sure they do all
Yes.
those three things? Or are there other bells and whistles that you should be, how do you pick, if they're between 8 and 20, my brain's going,
Yeah.
do the $8 one, right?
Absolutely. And you know what? Getting started, you might want to do the $8 one. The $20 ones, by comparison, they do things like Acuity Scheduling. I can take payments on Acuity Scheduling. To my knowledge, you can't do that on Calendly.
Yeah.
Some Calendly, a lot of people use the free version of Calendly, which is great to get started, but it doesn't do reminder emails. And to me, that's a non-negotiable.
Right.
So it really depends on where you are in your business. It's a tool that you are going to use quite frequently. At least most of you are going to. So Acuity is 15. It's kind of right about in the middle. So that's what I've stuck with.
All right. Brilliant. Thank you so much. What's next? System number 2.
So system number 2, I'm actually going to tell you a bonus one first, because it'll relate to
Sure.
the other ones. And
Okay.
that is you need a system to have a digital address. Now, a digital address, what I mean by that is that it's your website URL. So that's, for me, it's resultspartner.com or authornation.com. And you have to buy that domain. And generally speaking, it's going to cost you, $10 a month. You can get it, on a lot of the sites out there. But you need to have that address for your business, because that's where you're going to live in the virtual world. That address needs to be tied to your email. One of the mistakes, in my opinion, that a lot of people make is that they stick with a Gmail address. So it would be like you saying authornation@gmail.com, and that being the email that you're putting forward in the world all the time. It's
Right.
not very branded, right?
Right. Okay.
And it also has some downsides as you build your business, where it doesn't integrate with things. There's other reasons why later you're not going to want to do it. And it costs you literally $2 to $5 a month to have your own Sherri@resultspartner.com email. So I definitely recommend you do that. So you're going to want to invest in buying a domain name. You always want to buy your name if you can, sherricoffelt.com. I own sherricoffelt.com, and I redirect it because I don't have a website that's tied to it, but I redirect it to resultspartner.com. But you want to protect your name if you can. MelodyAnnOwen.com. I don't know if you own it, but
Yep.
I would try to buy it if you don't.
Yep. I actually own melodyowen.com and melodyannowen.com.
Perfect.
And yes, it's interesting. My My brother bought me melodyowen.com like years and like we're talking decades ago when you could first buy them, because my brother's very techie. He bought it as a gift for me, and later on I was like, oh well, that was actually a really good gift.
It was,
Yeah,
yes.
exactly.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So the reason why I brought up digital address now, because it's either kind of the first system or a bonus, depending on how you look at it, because you don't really do much with it, but you do have to have it in order to make some of your other systems work. So
Yeah.
even your scheduling address or your scheduling tool, right? It's going to come from Sherri@resultspartner.com.
Yeah.
So you got to have an email to tie to it.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Yeah.
So the third tool I want to talk about is your email management tool. Now, email. I know you and I have had a little bit of conversations about this. With email, you may be thinking again, well, I'm not selling programs, or, I'm not needing to email. I'm on social media. That's what I hear a lot. Well, I'm on social media. I don't email. Here's the reality, folks. You don't own your email, your social media followers. You don't own those thousands of people that you have as Facebook friends, or that you have on your LinkedIn connections. And if for whatever reason somebody decides, the Zuckerberg decides to shut down your Facebook account, you lose them all. You want to get people in your own email list, because then that you own that asset, and it is the biggest asset you can own in your business.
Yeah.
And of course, once you have them in an email list, having that relationship with your list is where people are going to get to know you, understand what you're doing. It's where you're going to put the teasers out there about the next book that you're working on. It's where you're going to ask for feedback potentially. It's where you're really going to let people in to who you are and what you do, so that when you do want to promote something, whether it's a book launch or a program that you're launching, I work with a lot of the authors that I personally work with have a book that they've turned into a group program.
Yeah.
And so in that case, you've got to be communicating to get people to sign up for the group program, and you're communicating with them while they're in the program, right?
Yeah.
So email management systems, there are tons of them out there. And one thing I'm going to say is that the systems I recommend to you today, they're the ones I use, and I'm pretty techie. I love it. I'm kind of a tech junkie, so I've tried a lot of them, and they're based on my experience and how my brain works, what works best for me.
Right.
But what I will tell you is that there's no one right system.
Yeah.
And you need to take advantage of any free trials and see what feels comfortable to you. What are you naturally able to figure out better? And that is especially true when it comes to, for one, email management systems. The one that I recommend far and away for email management systems is ActiveCampaign. And I recommend ActiveCampaign because it starts out at $9 a month. It's very cost effective. So it's basically about $100 a year. You can have up to 500 connections, 500 people on your list. And then as you do get more connections, the price does go up. But it has, I call it, have you heard of Keep? You probably have, Melody.
Keep,
which Keep it by Infusionsoft, used to be Infusionsoft.
Yeah.
Infusionsoft had the nickname Confusionsoft.
Yeah.
For a good reason. It had every bell and whistle you would want, and most people didn't use 80% of what it could do. I call ActiveCampaign the poor man's Infusionsoft.
Yeah.
Because it does most of what Keep does. I think Keep, they have a version now that's $97 a month. Well, ActiveCampaign starts out at $9 a month. So it's literally 100% of the cost.
Yeah, I agree. And it's funny because I always think of ActiveCampaign as the poor man's instead of HubSpot. Because HubSpot, again, so expensive. But ActiveCampaign does so much. Like, I'm on ActiveCampaign as well. So much. I just want to point out, Joelle Brainer said, love the idea of spreading my message by joining with podcasters and getting interviewed. So back to the Calendly, if you have a 15-minute slot to talk to podcasters, right? Do you want me on your show? Then you can have this really pointed, do this, right?
Exactly. And when you talk to them, you want to be able to put them into an email list, so that if now's not the right time for whatever, you can send them an email 30 days from now and say, hey, I'm just checking in. I saw this article that I liked, or whatever, so that you can build relationship.
Yeah, exactly. And then Lizette said, small plug. I just want to say, if you're a member, I strongly suggest the Authors Guild Site Builder package for a domain name, website, and email. So a really good point, Lizette. There are organizations out there that give discounts to authors that, authors can buy things together. And that's a really good point. Look for things like that. They're really
Absolutely.
useful. And so go ahead, Sherri.
Yeah, no, I was just clearing my throat. Sorry. Absolutely. Anytime you can take advantage of industry resources, go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, so email. We've talked about, and I just want to add one thing before we move on to email. If you're out there saying, but I only sell books, right? I don't have a business on the back end. My response is you still need an email list, because you may, and I know authors who not only have books, but they have mugs or they have other merch. And, if there's a character in your book that people love, and then, or you write kids books and then you do coloring books, and
Yep.
there's just, if you're running a business, you want to look at all the opportunities out there for you, and building relationships is a huge, huge part of running a business. All right. What's the next one, Sherri?
And not to mention, Melody Ann, if you're a multi-author,
yes,
promoting your next book.
Exactly. Absolutely. If they love book number one, they they might like book number two. And, I've read every Louise Penny book there is. Let's just, honestly. And what's number three?
Where I think we're at 3 or 4, depending on how you look at it.
Okay.
I'm
Yes.
going to talk next about marketing software, because it does kind of tie to email management system.
Yeah.
When you are going to get somebody on your calendar, typically there's going to be some kind of an incentive that you're going to give them to exchange their email and their name for getting that spot on your calendar, ultimately getting the spot on your calendar. Now, it may be direct to your calendar, but it also often is through something like a free gift. Right. And so you send them, in order for them to sign up for your free gift, you need to send them to an opt-in page. Now, everybody's been on an opt-in page for something. I guarantee you, everybody listening has signed up for some kind of a free gift. You've given an email and your name, and then you've gotten, typically back by email or on the thank you page, one or the other, you've gotten access to a download, a PDF, a video, a checklist, a template, so on and so forth. Yep. In order to create that page that lives on the web, on the internet, you have a couple of choices, but you need to be able to do it cost effectively and also have it be high converting. And when I say converting, what I mean is that when people go to that page, it's designed in a way that effectively converts people to actually giving you their email and name. Yeah. And the two, forgive me, I've got this frog in my throat. The two major ways to do it are, if you have a website that you've built that you have done on WordPress or something like that, technically you could have someone build a landing page on your website. Yeah. The problem with that, the downside to that, is that once you go down that route, then I'm assuming you don't have WordPress skills, for instance, then you're always tied to having somebody else create that landing page. Yeah. And hiring a website developer to do that can get pretty expensive. So in my recommendations to my clients, I never recommend they do that unless, their best friend is a website designer or something like that. And they kind of know they're not going anywhere, if that makes sense. Website developers can also ghost you. I've had that happen to my clients before. So it is an option, but it's not typically the recommendation that I make. Typically, I recommend that when you get to the point in your business that you're going to be building a list, and you need a way to capture their email addresses and automatically, again, save your time. You don't want to be typing email addresses in the computer, that you go with something like a Lead Pages or ClickFunnels or ConvertKit or something like that can help you build those landing pages. Now, you also can, and Melody, and you mentioned this, you can build landing pages within ActiveCampaign, for instance. ActiveCampaign, it's a step up in terms of the product offering. I believe it's $49 is the starting price for the version that has both landing pages and the ability to send the emails in the one package. So that is also an option. I'll tell you that the landing pages are not quite as robust in an ActiveCampaign as they are in like a Lead Pages. The other thing that I want to tell you, and the reason why most of my clients end up going with something like Lead Pages, is that a big hack is you can create your first website using that domain that we talked about, actually
Mm,
within Lead Pages. So if you go and buy a hosting package to do a WordPress site, not only do you have to buy the hosting package, which is probably going to be $100, $150 for the first year, and then it's going to get more expensive.
yeah.
You also have to go hire the website designer, right?
Right.
If you want to avoid that when you're just getting started with building a list, if you have Lead Pages, you can build your first website there and also use it for your opt-ins, also use it to promote that book club and get people to sign up for the next session, or promoting your launch or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
does that make sense?
No, absolutely. And I was just thinking, ConvertKit also does emails. So they
Yes,
do,
yes.
right. So, and ConvertKit, if I remember correctly, because I was doing a little research on this, I think your first 300 subscribers are free. And now I don't know if that includes the landing pages or not. I don't know all the details, but you can, it's one of the things you might want to look at is
Yeah,
ConvertKit. It does quite a good job for authors, actually. It's not what I use, but it does do a good job for
yeah.
authors.
The other one that I'll tell you, if you're really on a budget and getting started, check out MailerLite. It's
Yeah.
MailerLite.
Yeah.
It has a free version, and their free version is pretty robust. You can
Yeah.
actually do simple landing pages in their free version.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
another one that I would check out.
Yeah. Right.
Okay,
Excellent.
so let me talk just a little about what we just created. With the systems we've talked about already, you
Yes.
have the ability to send traffic. Now that can be somebody you met at a networking event, or it can be somebody that you're speaking, maybe. An author, a lot of authors are speaking is a big way to get the word out there. Maybe you have a speaking engagement and you want to send people to say a free gift. You can send traffic to an opt-in page that was created in your marketing tool, and that's that Lead Pages, ClickFunnels, ConvertKit, MailerLite. From there, they give you their email address and their phone number, or their email address and their name. And they go to a thank you page. On the thank you page, you tell them that you're going to be sending them their free gift via email, which is typically what I recommend. Your marketing software is connected to your email management system, so it automatically sends their name and email and triggers sending them that email from your email system, which is ActiveCampaign is my top recommendation. So you can send them an email with a link in it to click on it to get your free gift. And then you can build relationship with follow-up emails. The follow-up emails are where, if you have a program and you're wanting to get people on a call, you'll actually invite them to a consult call. When they say yes to a consult call, they're going to use the scheduling tool. They're going to go into your Acuity or your Calendly and pick a time to meet with you, get on a call with you, and then they're going to do what? You're going to offer them an opportunity to work with you. And that leads us to our last system. But before I go to the last system, does that make sense? Is that a good?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for kind of summarizing and then wrapping that up.
Yeah,
Thank
well,
you.
I want everybody to understand these are systems you're not going to use in isolation.
Yeah.
There's a reason for each of them, and they all hook together.
Yeah.
Okay. So that
Yeah.
leads us to the last system, which is a payment system, because we're in business, right? We need to be able to take money. Now, if you're selling your books on Amazon or Kindle, then they're handling that transaction. But if you want to sell merchandise, or you want to start a book club that you're charging for, or you want to turn your book into a consulting or coaching program, then you're going to need to take money for that. And the two systems that are free, 100% no cost until somebody charges a credit card to it, are PayPal and Stripe.
Yeah.
And my recommendation is that you have both of those, because again, there is no cost to set up an account, but you have it when you're ready. I have to tell you, Melody, I had a new client that told me that she'd had somebody refer somebody to her. They got on a phone call. They instantly connected. The person wanted to work with her, but she didn't have a payment system set up.
Yeah.
So she told her she'd get back to her. And by the time she went, set up her PayPal account, got an invoice, sent an invoice to her, she'd changed her mind.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yes.
don't miss those opportunities.
Yeah, exactly. And PayPal and Stripe are international. So if I'm living in Portugal, I can still use them.
They are, except that I would say that Stripe is more international friendly.
Okay.
PayPal does have some problems with international.
Okay.
So I would Stripe in my experience, Stripe is easier. The other thing with PayPal that I just want to mention, and we're going to talk about the free gift. And the free gift I'm going to offer, you're going to get a little table that has some pros and cons of PayPal and Stripe.
Yeah.
But one of the big cons I'll tell you about PayPal, it's not as bad as it used to be, but PayPal has a reputation for holding your money. And what I mean by that is if you're doing transactions, like let's say you're mostly selling merchandise and you're doing $50 transactions is the norm, and then
Mm-hmm.
you decide to launch a program and you're going to charge $2,500 for that program. When that $2,500 payment comes through, PayPal is known to say, "Oh, this is an unusual payment. I'm going to just hold your money." And all of a sudden, you just started a new program and you've got all these people paying you $2,500 and it's sitting in a PayPal account stuck.
Sounds like a
And
bank.
yeah, and that is not a fun place to be.
Yeah. It's like when you take a random check to the bank for
Yep.
$2,500 and they're like, we don't know who this is. We're going to
Yep.
hold this for a few days. Yes.
Yeah. Unfortunately, with PayPal, I've had people that it's taken like a month to get their money.
Wow.
So yeah, and as I said, it is better than it used to be. That problem was more in place, I would say 2 to probably 3 years ago than it is now, but it's still something that I want people to be aware of.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And, regarding payments, if you work internationally, what you use for payments is so important because
Mhm.
it needs to work for all the different countries that you have clients in,
Yes.
right? Author Nation is a global organization, and so we use Stripe. We need to be able to take payments from anywhere in the world. And so Stripe is, I know for me, that's been the one, right?
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
all right, here we go. We have a question for you. Lizette is saying, I take workshop tuition through PayPal, but I'm confused about how to integrate it with the other systems tools.
Well, it's really integrated by a link because in the if you're selling something via email and you're promoting a workshop, let's say, and you're sending emails to your list and promoting it, you'll have a link to you'll probably send them to a registration page, which you'd create with that marketing software. They register for the workshop, and then when they register, they go to the checkout. So they're going to go to a link to actually put in their credit card information and take payment. So it's linked to your marketing software primarily.
Oh,
Or the other thing that can happen is if you're registering people live, if you're on the phone with them and you're registering them on the phone, then typically what would happen is you would bring up the order form on your computer and have them give you the information, type it in for them so that it goes into a secure encrypted system. You don't have credit card numbers laying around,
mm-hmm,
and you'd integrate it. It's manually in that case.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Does that make sense, Lizette? If you have another question, please ask.
Yeah.
So essentially, if you have a workshop sales page on your website,
Mhm.
you can embed PayPal into that page and they can pay through that. And if you have an email list, you promote it through email, sending them to that web page where the PayPal
Exactly.
is embedded.
Yeah.
And if you have other questions, Lizette, please ask because we're absolutely here to support
Yeah.
you.
And
So
Stripe has made some big improvements in the last year in terms of their ability to link directly because you can create links now and buttons in Stripe and then embed that text. It's
yeah.
basically code that you embed on your sales page.
Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant. Thank you. Thank you so much, Sherri. If there and any other questions, please drop them in the link. We have a couple of minutes to take questions. But in the meantime, I'm just going to ask Sherri if we've missed anything important.
I think that the one thing that I would say is that our authors, in my experience, are creative people, and creative people, um, we tend to think, well, I need to be spontaneous and really kind of maybe sometimes kind of push structure away, and sometimes systems can feel like structure, and I get that. But what I want you to reframe is that the freedom is in the structure. And by putting some of these systems in place that automate some of these daily tasks, they're frankly going to do it better than probably you're going to do it trying to do it manually. And it frees up your mind to be more creative and to spend more time doing what you love to do and let the systems work for you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point. And it's interesting because when I'm helping people with their creativity, we actually set up rhythms and rituals and systems. It's like you're going to be creative there's a famous quote, right? I only write when I'm feeling creative, so I make sure I'm creative at 9 a.m. every day. And I forget who, and that's a rephrase of the quote. But
Yeah.
even in creativity, there is freedom in structure. And
Mhm.
it's such an important point. So thank you so much for saying that. Lizette
Mhm.
says, got it. Thanks. Oh, good. I'm glad, Lizette.
Good.
I'm really glad. All right. Sherri, you did mention that you had a mini ebook about all of these
Mhm.
systems. So would you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So I created a downloadable. It's a ebook, I guess you can call it, where I
Mhm.
go through each of these 5 systems. We'll cover a lot of what we covered today, but you'll have it so you can actually go through it in detail. And I give you some tips and tricks on what to watch out for. So I tell you some do's and don'ts, for instance, around email management system, and also give you links to some of the tools that I've mentioned today. Um, it's a great way to get started, and just pick the systems off one at a time. Start with the one that you know is like, you know what, I know I could make my life easier if I just got a scheduling tool, or I've got all of these emails that I've written down all over the place. I know that I need to start collecting them. I'm going to start with the email management. Just start and
Mhm.
implement them one by one, and make it happen.
Yeah, really good point. Nothing happens. It's you don't write a book in a day, and you
Exactly.
don't build a book business in a day. It's to
Mhm.
what one step can I do today? Right? That's
Exactly.
such a great question to ask yourself. Thank you, Sherri, very much.
You're
So, how
welcome.
do people get a hold of you? So, by the way, the link to that gift is in the description for anyone who's interested. Go grab that. And I wanted to know, other than that, how do people get a hold of you, Sherri?
Absolutely. So I am most active on social media on LinkedIn, and my handle is Sherri Coffelt, my name, and it's Coffelt. And you can always reach out to me. I love talking to entrepreneurs. I do it every day. And in fact, I mentioned earlier, my results accelerator session link is connectwithsherri.com. If you want to talk about these systems, or you want to talk about anything else in your business, I'm always open to talk with entrepreneurs. And of course, you can also go to my website, which is resultspartner.com.
Thank you, Sherri. Thank you, Sherri, for being with us today. You have just downloaded a whole bunch of information. It's going to take a little bit of time for people to process. And if you've really enjoyed that, I suggest you go grab the list, because as Sherri says, the ebook, because as Sherri says, it'll be outlined for you, and then you're not having to re-listen to this. You can just go through and do one action at a time until you've built that business piece of your business. Thank you, Sherri, for joining us today.
You are welcome.
Yes. And thank you for joining us today out there. Join us next week, because we have Patty Shales Lefkos with us. We're going to be talking about reflective writing and her love-hate relationship with self-publishing. But on top of that, uh, Patty is going to surprise you by what she's been doing with her life after retirement. It'll blow you away, I promise. Join us then.